Okay, I used the Dremel tool and I've got it roughly where I want it. A good, a fairly skinny neck. It may need a little bit of fine sanding, but in the meantime, you can see all that dust that's there. So what I need to do is remove that, and I'm going to use a bit of rubbing alcohol and towel. So I've got rubbing alcohol on this piece of paper towel. I'm just going to rub them down. You can see how it really gets rid of that. I hope you can see it. Gets rid of the dust and debris. And this stuff evaporates quickly, so you really need to add more to the towel. For the detailed tight areas, it might be better to use a brush. You know what I mean? In fact, let's try that, because there's an area under the helmet that I'm not going to get to with my finger and paper towel. Let's put some more light on the subject here. It's a little better. I don't want them falling over, so let's get a brush. This is pretty much the same brush I used for smoothing them down a bit. And you can see how that removes, at least I hope you can. I think you can see how that is removing the excess dust and stuff. Damn, I'm a little bit disappointed that I broke off that piece, but you know, I learned something. It should be supported, and I can fix it. So that should actually help smooth things and get rid of all that dust and stuff. So right now he's looking pretty smooth. I'm going to let that dry. And it looks pretty good under there. I don't think, oh, there's a bit of dust. Give me more. It pays actually to rough up something that you're going to paint, because the paint adheres a little bit better. Get rid of all that dust and stuff. I think he was looking pretty good, actually. Yeah, I see a bit of wood sticking out of his tail there, but that's going to get covered up. Like I said, I'll have to fix that little part of the heel that needs replacing. There's some more there. All right, I think we're good. All right, I think this guy is ready for paint. Well, after it dries. So I've decided to put I don't know if this is a mistake or not, but I've decided to put a coating of gesso on this guy before I paint him. Could be another mistake. I've made lots of mistakes on this project, but I've powered through them. So let's see what happens. My objective here is to fill any little cracks and crannies and nooks and stuff. Maybe smooth things out, especially when I put another coat of paint over top of it. We'll see what happens. By the way, I found that the Turner acryl gouache, what do they call it? Not the best. I found this Deco Art paint in the dollar store. It's actually made in the USA, and it goes on very nicely. I repainted the eyeballs with it, and it seems to go on more opaque and smoother than the Turner acryl gel. Now this stuff is gesso. This is what you put on to a canvas, generally two or three coats on a canvas. Some people sand it down, but it's a very waterproof medium, and a lot of artists put it directly on wood to prevent the natural oils of the wood from coming through and, you know, discoloring paint. So I'm just going to slap it on there. So I was going to use an epoxy to fill this area back here. You can see his heel. But you know what? I just don't have time. Epoxy is probably the best, but here's what I'm going to use, which is wood filler. And, you know, this works quite well. Whoa. It works quite well. Yes, indeed, it does. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit of it out here on the, if I can get it out. Come on. There we go. Now you probably should squeeze this just to mix it up. This looks a bit loose to me, but let's see. I want it somewhat shapeable, if you know what I mean. This is air dry. So epoxy dries by using a chemical reaction. This stuff is just good old putty. Once it's dry, it's completely waterproof. But I want it fairly thick, so like I said, I should have kneaded this a little bit before, but now I got to find that cap. There it is. Let's get a bit more out there. There we go. Good stuff. Let's get the cap. Now, mix that up a little bit. You don't want to put too much of this stuff on because if you put it on too thick, it takes a long time to dry. Collect some of that over there. Now, let's see what I can do here. Looks fairly thick, so I'm just going to apply some. Hey, and it just happens to be pretty much the same color as Sculpey. Now I'm going to have to sand this, obviously. Which is a bit of a pain in the ass because I want to paint. I can smooth it a little. Now I can shape this with my finger if I wish. Ooh, I'm just going to smooth that a little bit with my finger. Yeah, look at that. Not bad. It's a little bit on the wood, but no big deal because I'm going to paint over it. And let's there's a crack there I'd like to fill a bit better than that. Wow, this stuff is melting the wax paper. Isn't that interesting? And yet another thing I've learned. And if you're going to sand it, you can leave it just sticking a little bit above the surface. And just sand it down. Oh, that's interesting. That should be okay, I think. Not a big deal. I'll sand that a bit. And this stuff does not take long to dry.